Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're talking about Jane Austen, but maybe not the Jane Austen you think you know. We're going to look past the bonnets and the ballrooms to find a pretty radical message, and it's hidden in her final novel, Persuasion.
So when you hear the name Jane Austen, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Probably big, sweeping love stories, right? Well, what if I told you her work, especially her last book, was actually less about romance and more about a quiet revolution? Yeah, today we're digging into a much more radical way to read her. And the novel at the heart of all this is Persuasion. A lot of people see it as the peak of her writing. I mean, it's this incredibly sharp critique of her own society, all cleverly disguised as a second-chance love story. To really get Persuasion, you have to understand the main struggle that drives the whole thing. And it's not just about a breakup. Nope. It's a full-on battle between what the heart desperately wants and the cold, hard realities of money and society in 19th century England. This slide really lays out the two warring sides perfectly. On one side, you've got the romantic heart, that deep, personal, passionate love. But on the other side, you've got the realist world, this rigid system built on what's proper, who has money, and who's in charge. The entire story gets its energy from the collision of these two forces. And here's where Austen really sharpens her critique. She pits the old, crumbling aristocracy, that's the Elliot family, who are all about their inherited status and superficial nonsense, against this rising new class of men in the Navy. These naval officers earned their place. They're all about skill, hard work, and merit. They represent a dynamic, authentic world that makes the Elliot's world look completely hollow. And our heroine, Anne Elliot, is caught right in the middle of this clash. Her story really hinges on this number, 8. 8 long years. That's how long she lives with regret after being persuaded to break off her engagement to a naval officer, Frederick Wentworth, back when he had no money. And this period of suffering, it's not just a plot device. It's the fire that forges her entire character. So how does Austen pull all of this together? The love, the money, the class struggle? Well, she has a secret weapon. It's a framework that scholars call romantic realism. And trust me, it's how she lands every single one of her critical punches. So what is this thing? Romantic realism is the engine that makes the whole novel run. It's this constant, grinding tension between your deepest, most private emotions and the cold, hard facts of your bank account and your place in society. Austen uses this blend to build her entire feminist argument, brick by brick. So let's get back to Anne Elliot, because this framework is what turns her into such an amazing character. See, Anne's not some fiery rebel storming the castle. Her revolution is quiet, it's internal, and it's through this lens of romantic realism that she transforms from a passive girl into a new kind of hero. You can almost map out her journey to finding her own voice. It happens in these 4 stages. First, she just submits. She gives in to persuasion. That kicks off a long period of just silent observation. She watches everyone. And from all that watching, she develops this incredibly sharp internal judgment. Until finally, she's ready to make her own choice. A choice that's completely hers. And this is the absolute key to her character. Her silence isn't weakness at all. It's her superpower. It's a strategic move. While everyone else is busy talking, showing off their own flaws and vanity, Anne is watching. She's learning. She's building a kind of clear-sighted wisdom that nobody else has. Okay, so all of this builds and builds to the climax of the book, where we get this amazing reversal of what you'd expect. After all this time of Anne's quiet emotional strength, the tables totally turn. And it's the man, Captain Wentworth, who finally breaks and has to pour his heart out. He writes this line, one of the most famous in all of literature, and by putting this incredibly vulnerable, emotional confession into the man's voice, Austen does something revolutionary. She lets him be the one overcome with feeling, which in turn frees the heroine, Anne, to be the steady, rational, morally solid center of the entire story. It's just genius. All right, let's connect all the dots. Why does this make Persuasion so powerful, so revolutionary? Because it's Austen delivering her final, most thought-out statement on what it means for a woman to have worth and agency. Austen is basically giving us a whole new definition of female strength. It's not about being the loudest person in the room, it's about quiet fortitude. She argues that true power isn't about raw emotion, but about smart, informed judgment. It's a strength built on loyalty and moral endurance. She's making the case that happiness isn't just handed to you, it's something you earn through your own character.
So, in the end, yeah, it's a love story, but it's so much more than that. Persuasion is a masterfully designed, revolutionary book. Jane Austen was literally creating a new vision for feminine worth and truth right there on the page. And that leaves us with one last question to think about, a question that comes from the very soul of this novel. Who is the most persuasive voice in your life? And maybe more importantly, is it your own? Thanks for joining us.